Hello. For a while now, I've been on a Hot Wheels Ferrari kick. It started with watching YouTube videos of David Lee, who owns 5 of the Big Five Ferraris. Him in the Jay Leno video is kind of what got me started on the Hot Wheels Ferrari kick. Obviously, I can't own a real Ferrari. I don't have the funds for that. I've never really been a Ferrari guy. I've appreciated them. I've collected them as a Hot Wheel as a kid, but I've never been super into owning one. Probably the most into one I've ever been is the Ferrari California, the newer one. I do like that car. If I could own one, I'd probably pick that one. This is the newer Ferrari California. So moving on from that, it's kind of put me onto the hunt for finding Ferrari Hot Wheels. I know a lot of you out there probably own many of these cars that I'm about to show you, but this has been quite a fun hunt thus far. It's been quite a few months in the works. I have not devoted a whole lot of time to it. I've been trying to check good pricing on eBay, trying to find good deals, maybe people who have them. I haven't gotten really into trading cars. I don't really have a huge network, so I'm kind of a lone wolf. I kind of do my own thing. But I sure like to talk about cars, and I'd like to talk about Hot Wheels. So, starting with the F40, the Ferrari F40, I'm on a hunt for finding all the variants of the wheel color, rims, and the boxes for the F40. It actually, not all the variants, but there's a particular 5 variants of one car, and then this is the original one from the 80s. I believe this one's a 1989 version. I believe they were out in 88. I know that the F40 was out around that time, so Ferrari created the car in that time frame. Hot Wheels launched the die-cast version in that time frame. So I'm trying to find out if there is an 88 version, and if there is, I'm going to try to hunt that down. But this one is an 89, and I was pretty excited to pick this up on eBay the other day. It has the cool old packaging, and the packaging is very interesting. I've been noticing up here at the top, it says for ages over 3, period, die-cast metal, exclamation point. And I just found their appreciation for grammar pretty cool. That's not something you find often nowadays. The packaging is certainly very hardy for back in the day. You can see that there's all 4 corners, and in nowadays packaging, that is not the case. So expenses, I'm sure, have gone up, packaging has gone up, printing has gone up, so things have changed, times have changed. However, the generic car in the background is something that was found on most of those packages, as in nowadays they have the actual car printed on the package. So, interesting comparisons. These are things I think about. I kind of like the fact that there is the sticker of the price on the car. I'm sure that probably doesn't bode well for other people, but for some reason this just to me seems very authentic, that it would have come right off the pegs in this manner. So this is the 1989 Ferrari F40. That starts it off. That's one of 6 that I'm after. Right now I've got 2 more, and this package is the blue card, and it's got a price tag on it as well. I guess it's an old Target card. Now this one is interesting because if you read up top here, it says for ages over 3, which I've still trying to figure that out. I think nowadays it's for ages 3 and over, or ages 3 plus, and I believe I can show you that on one of these other packages. But again, printing, I'm sure that has changed over time. Grammatical things have changed over time. But they dropped the period and they dropped the exclamation point on this package, so that's something that is lacking grammatically. But this one has the Ultra Hots, the gold Ultra Hots, which is why I picked it up. And then We have the other one, which has the other wheel variant. And just today, I purchased on eBay the other two wheel variants of the last final three that I'm looking for. So I will show those two coming up. I'll probably do a showcase of all six once I get them all collected. And there's still one more out there that I need to find. There's another wheel variant that I'm trying to find. So I'm trying to find the Fab Five of the 90s Ferraris F40s. And I'll also include the 89 Ferrari F40 as well. Moving on, going back to the David Lee video from YouTube and how he owns the Ferrari Big Five, which are the Ferrari 288 GTO, the F40, the F50, the Enzo Ferrari, and the Laferrari. Because Hot Wheels has made all these cars, I went on the hunt to try to acquire them all. So I'm going to start off with the fact that in my collection I had only had the Ferrari F50 and the Ferrari Laferrari in my Hot Wheels collection. The F50 I've had since I was a kid. I never did actually own an F40. Surprisingly enough, I've only ever bought the F40s in my adult life. I don't know why I never owned one of the Ferrari F40s in Hot Wheel version, but I never did. Again, wasn't too big of a Ferrari person. I do have the LaFerrari. I did buy that one in the red in the package, off the pegs. I actually have it out of the package, but I did buy that one within the last couple of years since it came out. And then one of the newest ones was the Ferrari 288 GTO. I did have this car, I still do, but I had it in yellow. It was a gift, somebody had given it to me. And I didn't really want to take it out of the package. I didn't really realize what I had had until I went through some of my cars and realized, wow, cool, I have this car. But I had it in yellow, and to make the completion of the video of the David Lee Ferraris, he has all the red ones. So I had to hunt down all the red ones. So I recently acquired the red Ferrari 288 GTO, and that was from 2008. So that was right around when I went to college. I had sort of scaled back on my purchasing of Hot Wheels because of budget purposes. I was in college, and so I didn't make a whole lot, and I was still trying to keep up with it, but again, not a Ferrari guy, so I probably passed this one up on the pegs. Kind of regretting it, because now I'm buying it as an adult for a lot more than $1 that I could have spent. That being said, just kind of quick look at the case. Again, this is a newer model, not the newest one. Obviously, it's not a 2018, so this is 10 years old. But if you look at the packaging, it has kind of the generic cars again. It's got a cutout, so they're not spending as much on cardboard. It's got the cutouts here. They're not, again, spending much as cardboard. They have the 3+ sign on the corner. So that is not the for ages over 3, as described on the earlier packages from the 90s. So there's a couple of the variants, and then we're going to do another backward step here in a bit when I open the Enzo. So I'm going to open up the 288 GTO, and then that kind of gets into another subject where the die-cast liberation movement, I know Lamley's big into that, and I'm catching on. I know Champion DJK, he does that as well. There's a lot of YouTubers that I watch that open up their cars. Really cool stuff. It also intrigues me though because it's going to probably drive the value up in probably 10 years, I'm going to guess 5 to 10 years, of cars that are unopened to where people would want to open them. I'm sure the price for an unopened vehicle is going to be extremely high in about 10 years with all the cars that are being opened from the time frames of the early 90s, early 2000s, mid 2000s. Some of these cars are being opened that haven't been opened in decades, and the more examples that are opened, the less examples that will be in the package, which would probably make for a higher price. They will command a higher price in the future, packaged cars, I'm sure. But it's a die-cast toy. For what it is, it was only $1. It would technically only ever be worth $1, but in essence, it's worth however much somebody's willing to pay for it. Some of these I should have bought for $1, but unfortunately, again, I didn't. I'm now paying for it in the future. But here we go. Here's the Ferrari 288 GTO, or the Ferrari GTO as it's packaged on the Hot Wheels package. So there's the start. I think I'll move on then to the other individual, well actually no, I'll move on to the 5-pack. So I acquired the Ferrari 5-packs, and the reason I did, and there's a couple variants of these ones, but the reason I did was because of the F40, which is right there. So we have the F40. And this one has the 5 spokes. It does not have the Ultra Hots. I do realize that there are variants out there with the Ultra Hots, and I probably will try to hunt those down eventually, but I did buy 2 packs of these. There was an awesome seller on Etsy that had 2 packages available of the exact same thing, and I figured, well, I really would like to collect these, so I picked up both, put both in my shopping cart, pulled the trigger on both. So that seller was awesome. They had 2 duplicates of the exact same, and now I know this one sometimes has wheel variants, and this one sometimes has wheel variants, and these ones actually all have the same 5 spokes all the way down except for on that one. And I apologize, I should know this car, but I don't, not off the top of my head right now. But I'm going to open one of these 5-packs that hasn't been opened since the 90s. Actually, it never has been. It was packaged in the 90s. And I'm opening it specifically for the F40. Wow, they glued these back in the day. Unless this one had, I think this one might have water damage. My wife pointed that out to me. She said this one looked like it had some water spots on it. It was crinkled a little bit. Oh yeah, the back side. It's crinkled a little bit. So she's like, open that one. That one looks like it's the worst condition. But they definitely made these things hardy back in the day. That is for sure. They had the cardboard in there, extra cardboard. The packaging is pretty solid. I would eventually review all of these, but for right now, for this video, I'm looking for the F40. I want to make the Ferrari Big Five, and this is the one that I need out of it. Now, the reason I went with this one is for the cleaner design. It doesn't have the 40 written on it, as the 90s cars do, that were individually packaged. It has a clean, solid red, has the Ferrari logo. Now, it doesn't have the square logo. This one has the Trident logo, or not the Trident logo, but the crest logo. It doesn't have the square, but that was okay. It's not invasive. It looks clean, it looks simple. It has the good 5-spoke wheels, which will look good in the photos that I want to take in the project I want to make out of this. So in progressive order, oh, and one more thing. Obviously, this is one of the very few cars that has an opening component to it. This would be the hood of the F40. Actually, I mean, it's in the rear, but the engine, it's a rear engine car, so mid-engine car. So, progressively going, we have the 288 GTO, we have the F40, and moving on, we have one of the very few cars that I did have of the Big Five, the F50. So it's the convertible version, and I did have this one as a kid, so I'm adding this. I don't have to open it up. I'm just going to add it straight to the lineup. So there's the 3 of the Big Five. I have the 4th one sitting right there, as you can kind of see. Moving to, in progressive order of the cars, but not in the production order of the cars, the Enzo, Ferrari Enzo. So this one was a 2003 first edition. You can see it kind of does have a rounded off packaging. They did keep the square up here at the top. It does have the 3 Plus on it. So these are little changes in the packaging that I find fun. This one's one of the 35 years, 1968 to 2003. It has the generic car on it. So we're going to open up the 2003 Enzo. Now this car was a treasure hunt. I did find the non-treasure hunt version. I know there is a treasure hunt version out there. And I know there's a couple, I think there's a variant. Some people say that there's one that doesn't have a Ferrari on the back of it or a logo. I could be wrong. right? I have heard that people have found some ultra rare variant of this car. But for my purposes, again, I just was searching for the Big Five. I wanted a clean example of an Enzo Ferrari. So that's the progression of the Ferrari supercars thus far. Now, looking at this set, this 4 set of the Big Five, you can kind of see a similar pattern. It looks like Mattel had been doing the same paint scheme, or I'm sorry, paint color of the family, the red family. And this does show up on camera pretty well. I'm glad it does, because I find this kind of interesting. Of the Ferrari Big Five, and Mattel having the license to make Ferrari. So right now Mattel does not have the license to make Ferraris. So they haven't made a Ferrari since, I believe, 2013. I could be mistaken, and I apologize. I do know these things, and a lot of the time when I get on camera I get nervous. So either way, Mattel does not have the license for Ferrari anymore. What I find interesting, though, is the color on all of these cars from the early 90s to 2003 to 2008 has remained the same. Enter in the last of the Ferrari Big Five, which I believe was one of the last Ferraris ever produced by Hot Wheels. Again, this was probably circa 2012-13, is the Laferrari. The Ultra Ferrari. And as you can see, this shade of red is slightly different than the other 4. So I find that interesting. Maybe it had something to do with how Ferrari wanted the cars, which is probably the case. They have, well, I'm sure within the copyrights and the other exclusive things that they deal with when it comes to licensing the model, I'm sure they have to come up with the colors and agree upon colors and tampos, which, if you're not familiar with tampos are the little designs, the logos, the lights in the case of the Enzo. The car probably least tampoed here is the F40, which is interesting. So, yeah, there are the Ferrari Big Five. Again, what started all this was a Jay Leno, David Lee video of the Ferrari Big Five, and I have now successfully put together the Hot Wheel Ferrari Big Five. I'm pretty happy with this accomplishment. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope it was educational. I hope to do more of these types of videos where I talk about cars, and I'd like to put more of a educational spin on them as well from a real life perspective, and give you kind of cross comparisons to the hobby of diecast car collecting and the car collecting world that's not diecast, it's real car collecting and car information. I'm hoping to post more videos of the cars in different poses, as well as pictures of the cars in different poses as well. Thanks a lot for joining me, and I'll see you on the next video.